Euthanasia should be legal for people who are suffering from an incurable illness or who are terminally ill. Why should it be legal in these certain circumstances? To rid them of their pain and suffering, because the United States has separation of church and state, and because people should have the right to their own bodies. Why should these reasons have an impact on whether or not euthanasia is legal? First, to rid somebody of the pain and suffering they're going through, day in and day out. People dying from an incurable illness should be able to choose whether they want to keep suffering from the pain day in and day out. In this country, it's acceptable to kill in war, capital punishment, abortion, and in self-defense. But if a person is suffering from something they have no control over and cannot change, it's acceptable to let them suffer and be in constant pain. That sounds a little inhumane to me. Sometimes even the best painkillers don't make a person feel well again. Being in a hospital bed every day, constantly receiving medications to stay alive, to be on a machine to breathe for you, it's no way for somebody to live. If euthanasia will help a person go in peace and not have to be in pain anymore, nobody has the right to tell them no. Next, the United States prides itself on its separation of church and state. Since we have this separation, religious belief should not be allowed to affect the decision of whether or not a person can even have euthanasia. Unless, of course, the patient doesn't want anything to do with euthanasia, and in which case there wouldn't be an issue in the first place. There are still many arguments that God gives us life, and humans are made in God's image. Some churches also emphasize the importance of not interfering with the natural process of death. This belief of people who are not the person suffering is not really significant, not in this country at least. Putting people on breathing machines and giving patients medications to prolong their death could also be seen as interfering with the natural process of death. This contradicts itself and should not be a reason that people oppose euthanasia. Last, people should have the right to their own bodies. Often people face incurable diseases or are in a position where they're so badly injured that they have no brain function whatsoever and will never again regain consciousness. In this case, people should be able to say, in their living will, that if something like this happens, what they would want their families to do. Our bodies are our bodies, and we should be able to decide if we want to live a terrible, painful death, be on a ventilator forever, or go peacefully by euthanasia. Autonomy is defined as the right of self-governance or personal freedom. This is a liberty stated in the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. If a person chooses not to subject themselves to certain things, such as pain and suffering, they should not have to. Certain circumstances make euthanasia acceptable. These being if a patient is terminally ill or has an incurable illness. For these few cases, it should be legal to rid them of their pain and suffering because of separation of church and state, and because people should have the right to their own bodies. Wouldn't you want to make your own decision? Thank you.